So Kim Jong-un's comment on his relationship with Trump come as President Yi is set to deliver his speech at the UN General Assembly in New York. Now, for more on this, we're joined today by Dr. Christophe Gaudin, Professor of Political Science at Kookmin University. Professor Gaudin, thanks for joining us this morning.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So President Lee Jae-myung is now set to deliver an address at the UN General Assembly in New York. Why is this so significant, and what kind of message should we expect from him?
Nothing of much substance, I'm afraid, because President Lee is in no position to make any bold statements. What we have now is a middle power, Korea, that used to rely on the US, and the US, as we know, under Trump's administration, is not as reliable as they used to be. So what I expect from President Lee probably is a consensual message of peace, maybe something to pave the way to further talks in a near future. The point I think here for President Lee is not to burn any bridges. Right now, South Korea needs to trade with China. South Korea cannot trust the US and still at the same time cannot lose the US support. So what I expect from President Lee, I think, is a very humanitarian speech emphasizing human rights and the like, most likely.
I see, and there's a lot of attention on what he'll say about North Korea, especially since it's the first time in 7 years, since 2018, that the North Korea is sending its senior official to the UN General Assembly. What does this tell us about Pyongyang's willingness to sort of actively engage in multilateral diplomacy?
Well, Pyongyang is for sure willing to engage, but maybe not on the terms we'd like. As my colleague, Professor Park Won-gon, argued in your previous report, now, paradoxically, North Korea is in a position of force because for the first time in decades, virtually, South Korea can count on actual allies in the region, in particular after the troops Kim Jong-un dispatched in Ukraine. So what I think this presence means above all things is the fact that North Korea is back on the international scene. And as North Korea's agenda aligns for the most part with China's and Russia, I think Kim Jong-un envisions it to be an opportunity to push for what North Korea has always wanted, that is trade, on the one hand, economic opening, and on the other hand, maximal political isolation. And to this extent, I am not sure that North Korea's coming back on the international scene is good news for South Korea, at least to this extent.
Right, and just before leaving for New York, what President Lee said that he's willing to accept a deal where North Korea would freeze nuclear weapons production, and he called it a realistic alternative, and said what matters is restoring trust between the two Koreas. What's your take on this?
I think that's the perfect way to put it. It's an alternative. It's a realistic alternative. It is the second best solution. Realistically, hence realistic alternative, North Korea is not to give up on their nuclear program anytime soon. So if you want to negotiate, you never negotiate with friends, you negotiate with enemies by definition. So if you want to negotiate with somebody, there needs to be something to be put on the table. And so if it cannot be dropping this nuclear program altogether, it has to be somehow some sort of break, some sort of pause, some sort of slowing down even in this nuclear escalation. So I think this line of conduct that President Lee has chosen is moderate, it is efficient, or at least as efficient as it can be, regarding how unpredictable both the US and North Korea are, each in their own right.
So the Korean government is sort of trying to ease tensions there, but North Korea's Kim Jong-un continues to take a hardline stance against South Korea and says unification is impossible. But he did say that he has good memories with President Trump, and he said dialogue could resume if the U.S. recognizes Pyongyang as a nuclear state. So does this mean he's willing to talk with Washington?
I'm pretty sure Kim Jong-un's memories from this 2019 meeting are excellent because what happened back then is that it brought back North Korea on the international stage. North Korea received a lot of international, in particular humanitarian help back then, and North Korea back then gave nothing in return. The main objective of Donald Trump at the time was to get North Korea to somehow stop their nuclear program, and they haven't. So to this extent, it's very understandable that Kim Jong-un somehow remembers fondly of these memories he made 6 years ago. No, I think that, of course, it is not impossible at all that Kim Jong-un and Trump are to meet up anytime soon. But in terms of denuclearization, I don't think there is nothing realistic to expect in that department, unfortunately. Trump wouldn't get Kim Jong-un to withdraw his nuclear program before. There is no reason to think that he could manage to achieve anything comparable now in a near future.
I see. I guess we'll have to see if they do engage in talks during Trump's second term. All right, Dr. Gaudin, thank you so much for your insight this morning, as always.
My pleasure.